Now, all right, welcome everyone to Tuesday night show and shares at Knox Makers. Who is their first time at Knox Makers? Raise your hand. Okay, so we got a few. So Tuesday nights are our show and share, where we invite people to come up and show stuff they've been working on, stuff they've completed, stuff they're stuck on, stuff they failed at. We welcome all types of projects here, and it just gives us a chance to catch up on what everybody's doing and kind of come together as a maker community. Like I mentioned, we got a big full list tonight, so I will start right off the bat with our first person in presenting, Jennifer, who's going to give an update on a sculpture she's making.
Two sculptures. First one is the octopus I've been working on. Actually, two octopus. Still working in the clay, adding, subtracting, and just working on it. Okay. So these are two coconut octopus. If anyone's curious about that, they haul around a piece of coconut or a shell to hide in. And then this one is a nudibranch sea slug. It's made out of a different product entirely. So that's what the photo is. Sorry. That's the photo of him. Sorry, upside down. My bad. Okay. So. What material is that? This one is Sculpey. You bake it in the oven. So I've done layer, bake it, add another layer, bake it, that sort of thing. And the little lumps are little balls, like hundreds of little balls, and then I used a sharp pointy thing and then poked holes to like sew them together, I guess you could say. All right. Did that take forever? Yeah. A little bit tedious. Any questions?
Well, not a question, but a comment. For me, it looked more like a frosting tip that you...
Kinda, yeah. I wish I had a frosting tip that worked it, but yeah.
I was just curious, how do you get all the holes in that first?
Yeah, just like a toothpick sort of tip. Just sit there and stab it.
So is the material soft enough for a toothpick?
Yeah, it is. But once you bake it, it gets really hard. I'll pass this one around so everyone can see it. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Coming up next, Tracy is going to show some upgraded mittens.
These are my mittens. I've had them for like 10 years. I love them because they have the fingers in them. So you can, use your fingers for stuff. This is actually the second pair I've had, and when I first got them, my last pair blew out right here around your index finger because you use your keys, you use your hands for stuff. So I took the leather off the palm of my old pair and cut it down and sewed this patch on when I first got them so that my new pair wouldn't blow out, because it took me forever to find this exact pair of mittens. So since I still want to keep them, now they're getting quite old and the lining on the inside is getting thin and they're not working as well anymore, so my poor fingertips freeze in these mittens. This is not, it doesn't keep it very warm. So I sewed flannel on the inside and lined them, and I love it because it's like so happy and hidden, and it's very cozy on my fingers, and it's nice and warm again. So those are my upgraded mittens.
Very warm. We got plenty of seats, folks, so if you're piled up by the door, please just try to find a seat somewhere and let people if they're coming in as well. All right, coming up next, Russell is going to show nope, not a lamp, a board and coasters.
I don't believe you. I know Billy doesn't believe it, and he thinks it's going to light up, but it really won't. I will pass these around afterwards. This is actually a Christmas present, so I'm a little late, but I did want to keep it at least tonight so that people could see them. Here is, oh, that's not centered. Yeah, my first attempt was off center. And I thought, well, I'll just do it again on the back, and they can just turn it over and never know the difference. So I redid it on the back, and it was too low. But after that, I figured out, finally, how to get it in the right place. So there's the coaster. Here is the, I guess you would call that, I don't know, a little cheese board or whatever. It's made for my friends Jim and Leanne Vinson. That's why it has the Vinson on there. And then I also made them a cutting board to round out the set. So cutting board, I guess that's a cheese board, and I guess that's a coaster. I don't know what it is. But anyway, it's wooden things. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Come here, Billy. Yeah. Yeah. I do want to thank John Dale and Tracy for helping me figure out how to get this inkscape and hatchwork done, which is, it's been a little while, but I think I finally got that figured out. So if you need any help with filling stuff with hatch, that's one thing I have semi-mastered. Now if I can just master how to get stuff centered, I'll have it made. So I'll pass these around, and any questions on those?
Did you make the boards as well?
No, I got the boards on sale at Hobby Lobby. I cheated. Sorry. I shouldn't admit that, but I'll be honest.
What would you do again to avoid that problem?
The centering problem?
Yes.
What I've done now is I just take a piece of just the 3 mil plywood we have in there, run the file, and get it adjusted where I want it, and then draw on the, then I would draw on the, that 3 mil plywood, the outline where I want it to be, and then I just set this down right on top of that, and that seemed to work pretty well. Now, the next thing I want to learn is how to get front and back centered. I want to make some wooden coins, so I want to make sure that what's on the front and on the back are centered. I don't have a clue about how to do
I
that.
wonder if you could, as part of your design, have like 4 little dots on each of the corners, that maybe small enough you wouldn't see it, but that way you could make sure there wasn't one below or something.
That's a good idea.
Or like,
Go ahead and blast it all the way through. Do a cut with the dots.
Or like if you're doing your coins, have the first part of the thing would be to do a little dot, and that's not where you're.
Oh, I see, on the corner of your material.
Yeah, so.
That's a great idea. Yeah, yes, sir.
I've heard of people making templates
Mm-hmm.
and then you just reverse it, right? So you got the circle for the coin,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's the same size as the template itself.
Oh,
You
yeah.
put the template down, you can make a bunch of coins. You have 60 different circles. You do it all according to how it's mapped with the Inkscape,
Mm-hmm.
and then you turn it over, print out the new one, it's exact.
It should be in the exact same place,
Right,
yeah.
so as long as you have a big template,
Yeah,
the template's right, and you
you should be on the mark.
should be on the money.
Okay, good deal.
Could you get like a forstner bit, and drill a little 16-inch thick deep hole in a, like a piece of plywood that was fixed, and then you put the coin in there, and flip it over.
You could, but ideally I want to do, like 40 at a time. I could drill 40 holes, yeah. Okay, or just do the laser cutter to cut 40 holes. That'd be easy enough. Okay, all right, thanks for the tip, yeah.
What are you gonna have on the coin?
It's a secret.
'Cause I always wanted to one around to it.
Yeah, you're onto something. You're onto something there. Yeah, it will be revealed next week if I get around to it. All right, thanks a bunch.
Thank you for that. Coming up next is Ray showing a USB 10-port power supply.
First, he's passing out donuts.
Yeah, and donuts. I'm going to break a rule and talk about two things, but I'll try to make them both quick. So this first thing is just a little USB 10-port power supply. This is to use in the electronic zone. We've got a little area over there where we've got a number of different projects, and they're never powered up. So I thought this is something I could do to have 10 little power ports, so I can run USB, micro, mini, C, whatever we want to, out to power up people's projects and have them lit up, so they're not just dead bug things in there. So this is just dead simple. Plugs into the wall with that guy. Standard old barrel power jack there, goes into here. Each of these is fused in case one of these things, I guess that's not on or that's suddenly broken. There we go. So each of them is fused in case something shorts out, right? It'll maybe take that out instead of taking everything out. And then you can't really see it on here because it's canceling out the lights. So, I can do this, but they all light up so you can see if a fuse blows and one of them isn't lit up, right? So I'll be using that in the electronic zone to just power up little gizmos and stuff that we've got. This is an odd thing. It's something I made that's actually useful. Very unusual. Usually I'm just doing something that, right? Just kind of toss it to the side and forget about it. That was fun. Actually useful, so that's kind of cool. And if anyone wanted to build one of these, they're impractically expensive, but I do have extra parts and stuff. Probably 25 bucks or something, 28 bucks or something. It's probably what I had into one of these and parts. But if someone was interested, as always, you guys are always welcome to the extra stuff. But the more interesting thing, oh, yes, sir, sorry.
Did you do, I see ads for these things you could mail off and get back to the circuit board. Did you have that made, the board?
Yeah, I designed the board one evening using KiCad, actually, which you're a good straight man. We have a KiCad class series starting this Saturday. If anyone would like to learn to make such printed circuit boards, we'll teach you how to do that. It's every Saturday the next few weeks.
So, but
Yeah.
you then send it off and get
Yeah.
it back? Okay.
Yep, send it off to PCBWay, I think is where this one went. Out of fab. Cool, so the actual even cooler thing is for me like the unicorn of maker things, actually something useful that matters to somebody, which is great. But Tracy got an email, I think a couple weeks ago from someone that said, hey, I have a recording of my late mother on this voice recorder, but the thing kind of died. We can't get batteries in it, it no longer works. If there's any way you guys could fire that up and get that recording off, it would be fantastic. And we did, right? Hooked it up. It was just the battery holder was all screwed up, which happens. So just took a power supply, put battery voltage across the positive and negative on there, fired right up. A couple minutes later, we had recordings on their phone. So they're very happy about that. In fact, they're here this week. We'll give them a tour. They're, I think, signed up for new members onboarding. But even better, they brought donuts. So, yeah, right? So from your friendly, if shocking electronics zone, these will be outside. Please enjoy them. Thank you. Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Do you have plenty of those, circuit boards?
Yeah, I've got another 9 of these. I don't really have the other parts, but I can certainly order some with my next order.
I may have some of the parts.
Okay. Yeah, and that's true for a lot of these things I make. I tend to get 10 boards and I build one and the other 9 are sitting around. I always offer them up. Sometimes you guys grab me to build one. Let me know anytime. Yeah, Cooper, yes, sir.
Power output.
This thing, you can, so it's just a standard 5 or 2.1 by 5 millimeter power jack. You can plug anything you want into it. This one I've got is this is a 1.2 amp power adapter, but you could kind of put whatever you wanted on there. 5 This one is 5 volts. Yeah, now you could, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could hook whatever voltage up you want, but be really careful if it's not 5 volts. Cool. So any other questions? Yes, sir. USB doesn't really have a specific rating. Kind of depends on the thing providing the power. It may provide a half amp, an amp, 2 amps. Kind of depends on the controller side and the standard and a bunch of details. So it kind of depends. But if you hook something up, maybe where you're getting to with that is if you hook something up, like will it cause a problem? Will it cause 10 problems at once, right? So really what happens is you supply a voltage, and then whatever you hook up to it draws as much current as it needs. So if it needs 10 milliamps, it draws 10 milliamps. If it needs 10 amps, it tries to draw 10 amps. And if it can't supply 10 amps, just the voltage crashes down. So not much risk of that. Yeah. This thing is responsible for protecting itself. So depends on the power supply. If you try to draw too much current, what I believe this one will do, it shouldn't. I don't know for sure, but it shouldn't. It probably just the voltage will drop if you try to draw too much, and you'll end up with 4 volts or 3 volts or 2 volts, and then things don't work right, and you wonder why. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. Coming up next, Steve is going to show hula hoops.
I've been a member of Trout Unlimited for 25 years next month or the month after. And we have 6 or 8 events a year where we do fly casting instruction. And what we generally do is have hula hoops out for people to use as targets. Well, I've just mostly completed replumbing my house, and I had a bunch of PEX left over. Okay. How do I make this? There we go. Had a bunch of PEX left over, and I talked to the guy who normally is in charge of casting instruction. He said, sure, we could use some targets. So I just took a bunch of leftover PEX, and it's a heat gun, heated up. Okay. Took a half-inch dowel and cut a bunch of inch-long pieces. Go the other way. Heat it up so that it'll go over the dowels a little bit more easily. And pin it with a 23 mil pin. Had to go out and buy some half-inch ones to be safe so that it doesn't stick out and grab you. And I wound up with a whole big stack of them. So it's just sort of a serendipitous.
Are some of those circles narrower than others?
Yeah, I cut 10 of them to the same size. The rest of them were what I'd cut off, what was extra as I did each faucet, and just whatever it was, I made it that size.
So like for your advanced people at the tiny targets.
I had a friend who used to practice casting at a particular leaf on the lawn. But this is more for people. We do events for servicemen, first responders, women, kids. We have a Kids Fish Free Day every June. If you have small children, bring them out to Miller's Island below Norris Dam. It's generally the second Saturday in June. We work with all kinds of veterans and first responders. We have 2 or 3 women's events where we encourage ladies to come out and learn the gentle art of fly casting.
Okay. Up next, Ed showing the beer caddy.
Hey everyone. So I was up here a few times, and what I'd usually highlight would be some type of box that I would make, and I'd usually gift this to people. It's something nice that they can store things in. But the problem that I was running into was that if you give someone a box, you have to put something inside of it or else it looks strange. So what better thing than beer? So I decided to try this out because I wanted to learn a lot of things about how to kind of make some of these mortise and tenets, as also trying some different joinery other than miters and splines. So right here, if you guys can see, this is a lap joint. The base is just held together with a simple tongue and groove. And then also I made these slats that separate the beer bottles, and they're removable. So if you want, you can take them all out and you can put other things in here. So yeah, this is just a real quick update. I'm trying to build up to making something a little bit more fancy, and something that has a bottle opener so no one's cracking beers off the side and damaging things. But yeah, this was a pretty fun project. Does anyone have any questions? Sorry, they're empty. I'm, you know.
We got donuts, and some beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
What woods are you using?
So this is walnut, and I believe this might be ash, the light stuff. All right. Thank you.
All right. Up next, Scott is showing a Bob Ross painting.
Yeah, I thought you all might be interested in what happens with someone with no artistic skill attempts art. So, and I did this the easy way by signing up for a Bob Ross painting course, Pellissippi State Adult Education. And it was fun, I'll say that much. And I was rather surprised, first of all, that you don't have a lot of stuff given to you. This was the materials that we used, about fingertip size dollops of about 5 colors on wax paper. Didn't get the big plastic palette thing that Bob Ross all uses. And then the paintings was this big. And one mistake I made right off the bat, I showed up late for the class, don't do that. And then secondly, imagine the instructor's like here, painting like this, go just do this, just do that, it's real easy, just this. And I was like right about where Billy was, so I couldn't see anything he was doing. So that was very frustrating to start with, so I had to keep running back and forth to get a look at what he was doing. And then on top of that, well, I'll explain that later. You start out putting some sort of clear shellac on this thing, and then just white, looked like whitewash, just so you could see it on your finger. But then the magic is pretty cool. He has us using this big brush on this mixture of colors, and it looks like the whole painting's going to be black, but then as you brush, that white starts to appear magically in places to make things look real misty. So I think I skipped a few steps here, but you can see you start getting this mysterious mist like in the background, and that's the white coming through as you're brushing away the dark that's on top. And that actually gets pretty cool because I like, you know, mysterious, misty stuff and things like that. Where I started to fall apart was trying to make the happy trees, okay? and I really was getting very frustrated. Here, no big deal. That's just the trunks. But then when I get to, and I'm going to skip a whole bunch of steps here, take a look at my very sad trees. Going to zoom in on them. You can see they're just like, they look real sickly, you know? Yeah, but I could not get the branches to do anything I wanted. But I redeemed myself with the water, and I was real pleased with how the water came out. And that was just, some of that is just pure accidental, like this little swirly part here. I don't even know how I did that. But when it was all said and done, like my daughter, who is artistic, she still doesn't believe I did this. And so that makes me real happy. And then I did sneak something in there that was not supposed to be in the painting. And when the instructor came by, he said, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, that's the UFO from War of the Worlds." And he was kind of disappointed. He goes, "Oh, okay, that's a happy UFO." So, so it was fun. I would recommend any. Oh, here's the final product. I'll pass it around. Hold it up. Oh, yeah, I'll hold it up first. Okay, so there it is. And I think the happiest part of it to me is that my daughter still can't believe I did it. Now, she can do stuff like this in her sleep. I've never tried anything like it, so it was pretty cool. I'm going to try another one of these next time. I think I'm going to do the winter scene or something like that.
Don't be late.
Yes. Anyway, any questions? Nope, okay.
There we go. All right. Up next, Wes is going to show an AI art generator.
Kind of the opposite of what just happened. This is not something that I've done myself, but I want to showcase just kind of what can be done with it. Right. Not the greatest resolution here, but that's okay. So, does anyone know what an AI art generator is? Okay. So, for those who don't, it's artificial art generator, and what it does is it will take your text and it'll make it into art. So whatever you put in to the AI, it'll spit it back out, right? And for this one here, what I did was, see on the bottom it says wooden dock on a serene and still lake flat. So it made these 4 images automatically, and then I can kind of choose which one I like and adjust it, and there's a lot of different variations in it. But I think probably the best thing to do is to show a demo of how it works. And I'm going to do that right now. Hopefully the internet is working just fine. Okay, I'm going to do slash. Imagine. Okay. Let's do a shop cat. Okay, so a shop cat. Let's do an orange shop cat for Tennessee volunteers. Orange shop cat. What other descriptive words should we put in here to make this? Using a tool. Okay, what kind of a tool? Hammer. Okay, so maybe holding a hammer. Holding a hammer. Anything else you want to describe? Maybe where it's at, or maybe in a blacksmith forge. Let's do Misty Woods. Okay. Let's do it and let's just see what happens with it. Misty Woods, right? Okay. All right. And we're going to hit play. Okay. So it's waiting to start, and what it does is it runs in the background. Now this is actually on Discord. Let me zoom in a little bit just because it's not really. So there it goes. Now it's starting to build it. So it's only 30% done, 62. That is not, well, we didn't say happy, did we? Right? We didn't say happy. So now it's done, right? And I'll show you later on a little bit better picture of it, but I mean, this one's got a scowl. It's holding some sort of anvil. That one's amazing. I mean, this is something that we just put in. Let me do that here. This is one down here that we just kind of put in overalls. It's got a shovel, right? I mean, so What's really great about this is that you can design whatever you want with it, right? And if you wanted to make it, let's maybe try, let's do it again. And let's just try, let's copy the text. Come on, get off there. Okay, copy text. Paste. Okay. I don't think anyone can see what I'm doing, so. Okay. I'm gonna do another command here. Imagine. Okay. It's gonna take that same one. Now let's do Pixar. Let's see what it comes up with. So it can also do styles as well too. What I really like about this is that whatever your imagination can come up with, you can pretty much make it here. The company that does this is called Midjourney. It's one of the more popular AIs right now. Oop, pause for some reason. Don't know what's going on with that. Never seen the pause there. There we go. You can make logos if you want. You can put text on signs. This particular one, they somebody just won a contest, an art contest with it. There's obviously is some controversy behind this AI art generator, what it can do. But yeah, so this looks a little more Pixar-like, right? You can see how it's changed. The overalls are different. The shadows are in here, right? Again, happy to show you guys what it looks like here. I think the last question maybe for you guys is anyone interested in maybe learning more about this? I'm happy to teach a class on it and to show you how to get started with it, and then you can kind of just take it on your own.
Where do you, is it an app or what's the?
Yeah, very good question. So this runs on Discord, right? So Discord is just like Mattermost, and it's basically just a bot on Discord, and so you sign up for their service. You can get 25 free images or runs essentially, and you play with it, and then you can pay for a subscription to have other runs and more and stuff like that.
You wanted to put in a little more legwork. There's a couple of ones that are available. You go through the whole interactive downloading and kind of playing with that.
Mm-hmm.
That don't do. You have to put in more legwork. Essentially, you have to do some more prompts. You have to kind of tell them what you do, what you don't want. But you don't have to pay for it. You can actually do a couple of interesting things where you can use your own references as well. Because
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the other ones will use references from pretty much pulling from images from Google and all these other locations. You can kind of designate if you want to make one of your friends into one of those characters, like make that like multiple of their own portraits. You can play around with your.
So you could take Scott, I think it is. You could take his painting. You could take a picture of it, put it online, and use that as an inspiration, and you can enhance it and modify it. Obviously, that takes out the part of you actually painting, and maybe that's the joy of where you. I don't find a lot of joy in the painting. I'm not really a great artist, but I do know how to input text and stuff like that. So, yes.
I'm not super familiar with Discord, but is there like a title for that channel, or how do I get to that?
Midjourney, Midjourney. So you go to their website, you sign in. The bot will send you everything and tell you exactly how to get in and stuff like that. But part of maybe the class I can do will show people how to do that, and then I'd be happy to do that. Yes?
Have you compared it to Dolly?
No, I have not. I tried to get into Dolly the other night, and I think it wanted me to send like my credit card for like a trial, and I didn't feel like doing that. So, but yeah, Dolly is another one that's another popular one.
I've used Dolly and it is pretty.
Oh, okay, okay. In a way, I don't know the exact answer for that, but there is a part of the OpenAI probably in there somehow. Maybe they have their own engine that drives it and stuff like that. I don't know that specifically. I know you like to make stickers. You can make stickers in here. Anything you can think of, and you just tell exactly what you want.
I've got 2 apps on my phone that makes.
Yeah, and the apps are, there's another app called Starry.ai. That's another one that I particularly really like this one a lot because whatever your imagination really comes up with, and the more you put into it, the more you're really going to get out of it.
I just want to mention one other one called Stable Diffusion.
Stable Diffusion?
Yeah, if you just search for that, it'll take you, and you don't have to sign in or.
Good, okay. Yeah, so if maybe you're interested in doing one of those other ones, I mean, if you just Google AI art generator, you can find some stuff, yeah.
So you could like take a picture of a person, face, and put it in, and then it would embellish it there.
Embellish it whatever the way you want. Put horns on it. Fire background, Pixar, cartoons, make it photorealistic. I mean, I'll just go into the channel here, the server in here, and just kind of show you where's some good ones. Here's a show and tell one they have. Come on. Come on. Doesn't want to go. Give me 1 second. Any other questions?
CBS Sunday Morning did a thing on this last Sunday, and it's really interesting because they talked to actual artists that are very upset about this.
Yeah, no, there's a lawsuit that just came out today from 3 artists in San Francisco suing these different companies because they're taking the copyrighted styles that they use and, are making it easier for them. But I like the inspiration part of it, giving me ideas and creativity in different ways I couldn't think of, and doing things that there's no way I could do anything like this at all, right? Just kind of detail and such, so. Any other questions? Cool, all right, thank you.
Okay. Next up on the list is Keith with a cutting board.
Hi, everyone. Now for something completely different. So this must be the week for late Christmas presents that are cutting boards, because I have another one. Oh, right here. All right. And people, I've been in here a couple times displaying inlays, and this is not an inlay. This is actually through and through. But I'm actually go through really quickly about how I made it because it's a little counterintuitive. It's actually not all that hard. You get a couple boards, about half the size of the board that you want. You laminate a smaller board, or actually one for each of those boards. You tape them together, and then you get a bandsaw and just do a kind of a wavy line through there, and you swap them so that and then glue them together. So now you have two boards, one of which is, well, they're both half of the plain board and half of the laminated board. And then you take them both again together and do the exact same thing. And by kind of going over and over like that, you get this result. So it's a little, more than a little counterintuitive. My wife was a geometry teacher, and she still hasn't quite figured out how it all works. So that's, the board I showed you is one of the results, and this is the result of basically the waste, right? So after you've pasted them all together. So let me show you some steps in progress. All right. So this is just, I did 3 of the laminated boards. It's all scrap, basically. Even the walnut was a scrap wood. This is one of the boards after doing the first cut and then gluing together. And the only thing you have to look out for is that they actually don't fit together perfectly because of the width of the curve. So you have to get a spline and the width of that curve and put it between the 2 of them. So if you notice, going back to this, that spline there is actually the width of the curve. Okay, so this is one of the boards. Let me see. This is the other board. This is the one that became the one half of the body. Sorry. This is actually after the first. This is 4 boards. So the first board is from the very bottom to about right there. Second board, which was the cutoff from that board, goes from about right there to right there, and then so on. Okay, so once you have that, you actually take, this is where I'm trying to plan how to now weave them together. So what I've done is put some packing tape over it, and then drawn with a Sharpie on one, and trying to duplicate that curve on the other one, and that tends to let you visualize what's going to happen when you're all done. If you spend as much time, trying to figure out what you're going to end up with versus actually woodworking.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. This is actually showing on the bandsaw. So once again, this is a board, paste on top, and you're just cutting through both of those same boards at the same time. This is after the second iteration. So this is the final half of the final board, other half the final board, and then the 2 cutoffs. And I have to figure out what I'm doing the cutoffs because that's too funky to just not use, right? And then you're gluing them up. So hard to figure out. Actually, like I said, not very hard to do. I did a total of 4 bandsaw cuts, right? And it looks gorgeous. So, any questions? Yeah.
How do you clean up the bandsaw marks and all?
I did. Yeah. I mean, you know how you get with bandsaw little ridges? I tried to take the peaks off of those ridges just so they would glue up a little bit tighter. Just hand sanding, all of 5 minutes. So.
You gotta keep it perfect.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, watch that. Yeah. Yeah, and it took maybe a couple hours to get the laminates put together. Digging through the wood pile for scraps, and then half an hour, a couple of nights to actually do the cuts and the glue ups. It's a lot of cutting, gluing, waiting, and then the next day cut, glue, wait kind of thing. So, yeah, but it turned out, I think. So, okay, that's all I got. Thanks.
All right, so the last share is also partly an announcement from me. As some of you may know, we recently took possession of some stained glass supplies, and this weekend I finally had a chance to get them all set up and working. So this was the first official piece of the Knox Makers stained glass zone. Very fancy, lovely. So yeah, so there are pliers and cutters and grinders, and they all work, and soldering irons. And so I thought, hey, that was pretty easy. Putting 2 pieces together, why don't I try to make something larger? And made that. Made a lot of mistakes, but also a lot of lessons learned. As far as this, as you can see, I originally wanted to have a nice one piece of a circle, but making curved cuts in glass, harder than you think. Also, maybe don't go freehand, because then you're putting things together and going, why aren't these fitting the way I thought they would fit? Also, you can see how thick the solder is there is just because I dumped about half the spool of lead into there to try to fill that gap because nothing wanted to fit. But as I saw in several forums, the saying goes, the tin hides the sin. So also, it helps if you apply your copper foil tape evenly, because otherwise you're just going to have pieces that are missing in parts of it, and the solder does not want to stick to the glass. It only wants to stick to the tape. But hey, for a first time doing it after watching 15-minute tutorial video, not that bad, honestly. But yeah, so now all the equipment is up and running. So I plan on holding some sort of group learning classes. I'm by no means know enough to teach a class, but if you want to come and do a group learn and take some turns with some of the pliers and learning how to cut and grind and everything, I will require that the grinding machine does use some sort of authorization, because there are some very vital steps to take with it. But other than that, it's a fairly simple process, pretty beginner friendly. So we'll work on getting those on the calendar fairly soon. Speaking of the calendar, we have a number of classes coming up this week. It is a very busy week for Knox Makers. Tonight, after this, we're having a new members onboarding. So if you are a prospective member or a new member who hasn't taken or hasn't attended a new members onboarding, that is part of becoming a Knox Makers member. So that is happening in here after we are done with this. The laser cutting authorization class sold out for tomorrow, but there is one on Saturday morning at 10 that still has tickets available. So if you wish to be authorized on the laser cutter, you have a chance. On the 19th, that is Thursday, advanced serial communications class at 7. On Friday at 6 is the first slow jams in the wood shop. I think that's just a time for people to come and hang out and work on their woodworking projects, and Brian will have on some slow jams in the wood shop. Also on Friday night at 7 is Brazing 201. That has some tickets available. As I mentioned, the laser cutting authorization class on Saturday morning at 10. On Saturday at 1 p.m. is another Stitch and Bitch in the Fabric Arts zone. So come and hang out then. Also on Saturday at 2 p.m., as Ray mentioned, is the Intro to KiCad, correct? And PCB fabrication, and that is the first part of that class, ongoing class, and that is at 2 p.m. Then also on Saturday at 4 p.m., Intro to Electronics, still tickets for that. On Sunday, the 22nd at 10, we have Hand-Cut Dovetails. On the 22nd at 1, we have Scrap Metal Art Making. So if you're interested in learning how to make some scrap metal art, we have that. And then finally, next Tuesday, as I mentioned earlier, is the annual members meeting. There will be no show and share portion. It will just be the members meeting, and that is only for Knox Makers members and trial members. So that is a very busy week. If you want to learn more about those and grab some tickets, you can go on to knoxmakers.org, and we have the calendar of events there. Am I missing any other announcements? I mentioned the hot dog. So before the members meeting next week, if you would like to show up and have a freedom dog before the meeting, we will be doing those at 6, 5:45, 6, thereabouts. So yeah, so show up and hang out with us before the meeting. With that, we are done with tonight's show and share portion, and we're going to open up the workshop here, so we hang out and talk with some people. And like I mentioned, if you are doing the new members onboarding, that will be in here a little bit later. So with that, thank you very much for coming out, and get home safe.